off with Ross Dellinger from Sports Illustrated.
Hey, Tony, can you tell us what you did exactly for Michelin, maybe where you were based, what your job duties were, and how and why you returned to coaching?
So when I started, I was hired on as an industrial engineer. That's what I graduated from Clemson with, a degree in industrial engineering. And part of my job was just try to figure out how to optimize, some of the systems and the processes that they had in place. In particular, I was working with a production unit. The plant that I was at was actually manufacturing all the rubber that you ship off to the tire plants where they actually build the tires. And so we were just trying to optimize the weight per pallet of the fabricated rubber so that we can maximize the weight on a shipping truck, so that we can cut down the costs. And so that's where I started. And then from there, that was my first, when you go to work for Michelin as an industrial engineer, they put you in a program. So I had a 6-month study. That was my project there. Once I finished that, then I just integrated into working with a couple of business units within the plant and just trying to help them figure out how to optimize everything from the raw materials, the machinery, and then also the human input.
Next, we'll go to Matt Connolly from The State.
Hey, Tony, I was just wondering with Tyson and the situation his family went through, how did you all try to help him, and what's it been like for you guys on offense trying to help him?
It's a really tough situation. And I remember, and just thinking back, I know Grady went through a similar situation, but as it relates to Tyson, biggest thing is we were able to get a waiver to be able to, contribute to the GoFundMe page for him and his family. You just think about all the immediate needs that you would have in a situation when your house burns down, things that we take for granted. So the biggest thing is just, trying to support him emotionally as he goes through that difficult time. And then those who are able to contribute, just trying to help them reach their goal on their GoFundMe page.
Next will be Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com.
Hey, Tony, some of the names and faces on Ohio State's defense are the same from last year, but they've moved around a little bit. One in particular, Pete Werner, who was their Sam linebacker this year, moving over to Will. Anything that jumps out at you on film about him and in that new role and what he means to this defense?
Pete was a guy that going into the game, you don't realize just how good of an athlete he is. Watching him on tape is when you play him in person that you see that he's a guy that's got a big body, but he can move well, move like a safety. He can cover. And then what you see now with him playing inside the box, he just has natural instincts. He can find the ball. And then obviously with his movement skills, he moves quickly so he can get around blocks. Then he's also big enough to be able to set the edge too, if he's ever in that situation. So, he's a guy that from last year that after the game, you had a lot of respect for him. And then some of the other faces too. And it's been tough too. I understand that they've been battling issues with COVID. And so he's been asked to play a lot of different positions, just as Browning's been asked to play a lot of different positions. So all those guys, you can tell that they're doing what it takes to be successful. And the structure looks very, very similar. As you said, some of the names and faces are new, but the product looked very, very similar.
We'll now go to David Hood from TigerNet.com.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, it kind of piggybacking off of that. Obviously, the personnel has changed. They were so good in the middle last year, so good on the edge. Do you see a lot of similarities there, with how they try to attack and the success that they've been having?
They were very good in the middle, on the edges, and on the back end last year, and they're very, very similar. Again, a lot of the faces and names may be new, but the structure, the tenacity that they play with, they're very, very well coordinated. Everybody understands what their role is, how they fit. They're not out of position much. They fit their gaps. If you are lucky to be able to make them step up in pass protection, they know exactly where they need to go. Once they diagnose, they know their drop spots, their reading routes. So a lot of the stuff is very similar to last year. With the only difference is just the names and the faces. But what you can tell, they understand structurally, offensively what you're trying to do. They have their guys very, very well prepared. You could tell that number 32, tough in the middle, very, very smart linebacker, helps those guys get lined up. They've had to play some different guys inside and on the defensive line throughout the course of the year. But, you can't really tell a difference between those guys, 11 and 0. I mean, they pretty much are splitting images of each other. And then you got the length in number 9 on the edge. They know how to play the zone read. So again, I know the coordinator may be different, but the product is very, very similar.
We'll now go to David Hale from ESPN.
Hey, Tony, as a Clemson lifer and a guy who knows the program and knows the history, I don't want to read too much into sort of what fans think about things, but for a long time, as this level of success continued to grow. You guys were the good guys fighting against the Alabama evil empire in a lot of fans' minds outside of Clemson fans. It feels like maybe this year more than ever, you guys have sort of been in that cachet of the bad guys too, because of all the success you've had. Is that something that anybody takes notice of inside the program? I know Dabo has always liked playing the little old Clemson underdog card as a way of motivating things. Does being the bad guy sort of be its own motivation a little bit?
I don't think that we look at it from that perspective. Coach always says that right is right, wrong is wrong, and so when Coach Sweeney believes in something, man, he's going to say what he believes, and he's going to act accordingly with what he believes. And obviously, I know there's been a lot of back and forth with some comments from last year, and then some of the things with Coach's ranking. But he believed that was the right thing to do, and it wasn't anything in disrespect to Ohio State, but it was just based off of the totality of the season and the sacrifices that a lot of teams had to make. But for us, several years back, we also adopted the mantra, embrace the target. We were no longer going to be little old Clemson that could sneak up on people, that whenever we stepped on the field, we were going to get everybody's best. And so for us, it's just about embracing the target, staying true to our fundamentals on the field, but also our fundamentals and core values off the field. And then understand that with success comes scrutiny, but always resetting every single year back to what the foundation of the program is, and then building off of that as each team creates their own identity throughout the season.
We're now going to go to Tony Gerdeman from Buckeye Scoop.
Tony, I'm wondering if you feel like you know more about the Ohio State defense based on the game last year or based on the film you've seen this year?
Yeah, as I said earlier, in response to some of the questions, the structure is very, very similar. Obviously, I know there's two different coordinators between the last time we played them and this season, but they still have the similar structure. They play the same coverages, very similar pressures. I anticipate they're going to have some things that we got to adjust to throughout the course of the game. But it's a combination of getting ready for this one, making sure that we understood from last year's tape where we needed to improve, because obviously it's professional courtesy. They're going to try and attack some of the things that they had some success attacking last year, and we got to make sure that we've fixed those, and then they're going to build upon the strengths of this team. Even though the structure is similar, each team, just as like us on offense, each unit is going to have their own identity, and so they're going to play to the strengths of their identity. They're going to test and make sure that we corrected the issues from last year, but I think it's just going to come down to, at the end of the day, you get to this point doing what you do. You're not going to get away from what your base offense is. You're going to have a couple of game plan wrinkles, but at the end of the day, in this one, on the biggest stage, when the lights are bright, there's going to be a lot of emotion in this game. You got to make sure that you put your players in a position to be successful, and the best way to do that is to just do what you do and do what has gotten you to the point to be in this game.
Next up will be Paul Meyerberg from USA Today.
Hey, Tony. If Deshaun's remembered as the guy who helped orchestrate the program's next step from 2014 through 16, what do you believe Trevor Lawrence's legacy or long-standing impact will be when his time ends at Clemson?
Oh man, that's a tough question. Because Deshaun was great, and he took us to the promised land. It's not a situation where Deshaun didn't win a national championship, and then Trevor's won one, and having an opportunity to play in another. But I think the biggest thing for Trevor, I think his legacy is going to be his record, being the all-time winningest quarterback in school history. But more importantly, I think it's going to be the impact that he made on the game of college football with some of the stances that he took, in particular this season. But most importantly, he's just like Deshaun, man. They're humble young men. They love to win. They love to compete. They love to do it the right way. And they're about service to their teammates and their community. So I think the legacies will be similar. And as time goes by, you know how it is. The legends is always going to grow. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing what that legacy is down the road.
We'll now go to Anna Hickey from Clemson 24/7.
Hey, Tony. Dabo mentioned yesterday that the wide receivers didn't exactly play their best game versus Ohio State last year. I know it's largely a different group this year, but is that something that you can point to just kind of to challenge them going into this game?
No doubt. And really the wide receivers, the interior of the offensive line, Travis in pass protection. We put a couple of balls in jeopardy in the passing game. And fortunately, we were able to make enough plays in the end to win the game. So everybody's going to be challenged to play better, because we know that they're going to come in and they want it just as bad as we do. And we're going to have to execute. But the wide receivers were challenged last year. And I made reference to that in a previous question, that they're probably going to try and attack us the same way, I would imagine. Get up there and press our guys and see, can they have more success? Who's going to have more success? Their corners are or our receivers in terms of winning the matchup at the line of scrimmage. And so biggest thing for us is making sure that we don't try and do too much, but we're well aware of the things we need to improve upon and then have the right state of mind. Because last year, I think going into it, they came out, they punched us in the mouth. It's been a while since we've been in a heavyweight fight in reference to last season. And it took us they blooded our nose. It took us a little while to rebound and then really kick it in gear. But in this game right here, we're not going to be fortunate enough to be able to have that mindset. We got to come in and we got to set the tempo early with what we're doing on offense. We got to match their physicality and their intensity in the trenches. And then guys got to go make competitive plays.
We have time for one more question. We'll go to Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports.
Hey, Tony. There's a reason the wishbone isn't run anymore. The beer isn't run anymore. Will there be a day that defenses sort of quote unquote catch up to the spread in RPOs? Because, guys like Brett Venables are game planning against it every day.
Right. I'd say in reference to this question here is it may not be the wishbone, but there's a lot of option principles still floating around, at the college level, and it's even trickling back up to the NFL level. So I think that, as it's always a cat and mouse, and just as they're going to try and find ways to stop the new trends, we're always going to be looking for new trends, and then we'll recycle things. I even think the Chiefs, put a bone formation out there a couple of times this season. So I think that it's a revolving cycle. Things come and go, and it's cat and mouse, and everybody's trying to stay one step ahead. But just as tempo was the new thing. Defenses figured out how to be able to call their game, even with the element of tempo. And so then you have to, transition there. So I think it's just constantly going to be cat and mouse going forward. And offensively, we're trying to stay ahead of the curve, just like defensively, they want to try and see if they can get the advantage as well. So at the end of the day, football is always going to be about angles and numbers when you boil it down and winning one-on-one matchups. And so schemes are great, but when you get to this point in the season, schemes, you're going to have them. But at the end of the day, it's going to be the Jimmies and the Joes that are going to make things go.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Coach. We'll let you get back to preparation now and look forward to seeing you down here in New Orleans in a few days.
I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Up now, we've got offensive lineman Matt Bockhorst. I'm going to turn it over to John. John, go ahead.
Matt, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon here. We're going to have a handful of questions from you from the media. What we'll do is I'll introduce them by name and media outlet, and then you can go ahead and answer. We're going to start with Trevor Groves from cutigers.com.
Hey, Bach, how much is this game going to mean to you personally, going up against Ohio State, just being from that state? And I presume you know a bunch of guys on that roster and getting to start in this game this year.
Yeah, it definitely means a lot. Obviously, we had the opportunity to play Ohio State last year, but I was not necessarily as big of a role on the field. So being a starter now has a little bit more motivation for this game for sure. Anytime you get an opportunity to play a game of this caliber, I mean, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and you can never take it for granted. And a lot of people want to assume, well, we could be back next year. Well, you never know. So to get this opportunity is really special. And as you said, there's quite a few guys I know on their team and a couple of former teammates of mine as well. So really looking forward to that and excited for the weekend.
Next will be Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Matt. I'm assuming you're going to go against Tommy Togiai a decent amount. Could you just kind of give me your impressions of him?
Just strong, explosive, I would say. Really going to anchor down there in the middle. And just their inside guys as a whole, I think they do a really good job. They're very well coached, and it's going to be a challenge. And it's definitely kind of the nature of the game. When you get to games like this, it has to be in the trenches, and this game is no exception. And they're very talented, both on the inside and the outside, but specifically on the inside, obviously Haskell Garrett is a great talent as well. So they've got a lot to work with, but him in particular, I mean, he's a real plugger, and he can give a nice bull rush as well. So definitely going to be a big battle to look out for this Friday.
We will now go to Scott Rabelais from the New Orleans Advocate.
Matt, I know Trevor and Travis owe all their success to you guys up front, of course. But how have they made your jobs easier? Having such experienced. I mean, you guys have one of the most experienced backfields in the country. I would assume.
Yeah, well, I would say I don't know if all of their success can be attributed to us, because you're talking about two really special players and two guys that have made some incredible plays over the course of their careers, and sometimes not exactly with all the help from the offensive line. But yeah, it's amazing to be able to block for two guys like that who are just so special in their own way. And Trevor, obviously a generational talent and likely #1 pick, just to be able to play with a guy like that who's just as great of a guy, from a character perspective as well, is a real privilege. And Travis, I mean, to be the leading rusher in the history of the ACC is something that I don't think we can all really understand the significance of until maybe a couple years removed, because an accomplishment like that obviously does not come around that often. And to be a small part of that is something I take pride in. But like I said, I mean, some of the plays those guys make are absolutely incredible. And there's definitely been multiple times when I've been on the field with those guys and I've just been in awe at their ability and just the will to win.
Next will be Dan Hope from 11 Warriors.
Hey, Matt, it seems like you guys have kind of found your groove running the ball in the last couple games, and Ohio State's run defense has been pretty strong all year. Just what do you think has been the key to success for you guys to get your run game going, and kind of what do you see in this matchup with Ohio State?
Well, the biggest thing, just following the loss against Notre Dame, it was a huge emphasis and something that we really wanted to correct moving forward. Wouldn't necessarily say we're just a run defense or run offense, but at the same time, it's something that we take pride in, especially as offensive linemen. And so just getting back to the basics, really focusing on the details and individual drills and whatnot. And we've started to see it pay dividends, which is something that we're very happy with. And as you said, Ohio State has a very good run defense, and similar to Notre Dame, it's going to be a challenge. And we did what we wanted to do against Notre Dame. And so this week, same thing. It's just focusing on the details, focusing on the basics, and you can never get bored with the mundane, especially at this level of football. It's very easy. You've got extremely talented players and great coaches, but it's all in the details. And to play a group as talented as this, we need to be on our A game with the small things and the details. So that's all I would say. It's kind of a boring answer, but it really is the truth.
Next will be Zachary Braziler from the New York Post.
Matt, as someone who's from Ohio, how would you describe the kind of the state of the rivalry? What's, what do people from your hometown think of Clemson? And, it's obviously become, bigger with everything going on, the back and forth. I mean, but what from your hometown and your vantage point, what is the state of the rivalry with these two teams?
Well, definitely when I committed to Clemson, I think a lot of people were kind of shocked. It was a little out of the box, I guess you could say, for me to go to a school like Clemson. They hadn't signed a guy from Ohio since Cole Stout, which was more than 5 years before that. So there was definitely some weird reactions at first. Obviously, the people close to me have always supported me, and it's something that I really appreciate. But on the same lines, I have a bunch of friends who go to Ohio State and a ton of guys that I went to high school with or knew otherwise. So it's definitely interesting. I think there's some bragging rights on the line, but it's a passionate rivalry. And you're talking about two of the marquee programs in college football. And, we've been able to take the cake the past couple meetings, and I know that they want to get over that hump. So it's a passionate rivalry, I'll say that. And Ohio State has a huge fan base and a great following. So I know this is something that a lot of people take pride in, and it matters to a lot of people. So if I can get some bragging rights to a couple of my buddies, then I guess that's just the benefit of it all.
Next is Jacob Benj from Buckeye Grove.
Hey, Matt, it was kind of noted earlier how you're an Ohio guy and whatnot, and Justin Hilliard's from the area. So I'm curious what you think of Justin. He's gone through some struggles. Just what's your impressions of Justin Hilliard?
Yeah, so Justin and I were teammates at St. Xavier for 2 years, and what an incredible athlete. I mean, he was a 5-star, super highly recruited, and it's really been tough for Justin to go through his career, and just it seems like he'd take one step forward and 2 steps back from the injury perspective. and he's finally getting healthy, and you can see it on film. I mean, he is a special world-class athlete, and to get his opportunity, I know that he had a great game against Northwestern, and like I said, you just watch the tape and and I really appreciate Justin and look up to him, and he's someone that I really respect. Like I said, we were teammates for 2 years and got to play alongside one another, and now the opportunity to play against one another is something that's special, and it's not an opportunity that you get very often. So I'm really proud of Justin, and just to see him get his opportunity and stick it out for 6 years is longer than most. And so I think it's really paying off for him, and he's having the type of season that he could have envisioned.
We will now go to David Hood from tigernet.com.
Hey, Bach, I was doing a radio show last night, and somebody was asking me, what is Clemson's motivation now? They're favored in this game. They are the guys that are, considered to be one of the top programs in the country. Where does the motivation come from? Obviously, a national title's out there and all that. But for this group of guys, what has been your main motivation this year? And what keeps you going through this stupid COVID season?
I think that something Coach Swinney has done a great job instilling in all of us is having an intrinsic motivation, and it's not external factors. As you mentioned, yes, the national championship is something that we have our sights set on every year, and we've been able to get there and win. But also last year, we did not get the job done. So there's a lot of external factors and things that could give you emotion, but sometimes emotion can work against you if it's misplaced. And so really it's an intrinsic motivation internally to see how good can I be as a player and how good can we be as a team. And same thing unit by unit as an offensive line unit, how good can we be? And in order to find that out, you have to give it everything you have every day. In preparation and film study and the weight room, everything matters and adds up to see how good can I personally be and how good can we be. And so that's what it comes down to. And really, obviously, this is a high-profile game, the college football playoff. This is where everyone wants to be. But we should be no more motivated to play this game than we should week 1 or week 5. Because at the end of the day, every week's a best of 1. And especially at this level of college football, the margin for error is extremely small. And we did have the one loss versus Notre Dame and still got in. But sometimes, I mean, after that loss, you're looking at you have to win out to get in. And so the motivation has to be there internally every week. And no one can force you to be motivated and no one can force you to care. But I think we have a group of guys on this team that care about one another and they care about seeing the potential of this team come to fruition. So it's all internal, it's intrinsic, and the best is the standard. And best, how good is your best personally? So that's what it comes down to. And that's something that Coach Swinney's done a great job instilling in us, like I said.
Thank you very much for the time here this afternoon, Matt. We'll let you get back to preparations now, and hope you have a good trip down to New Orleans in a couple days.
Thanks, guys.
Next up, we've got tight end Braden Galloway. John, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for joining us this afternoon, Braden. We're going to go to a few questions from the media for you. I will introduce them by name and media outlet, and we will get started in 1 second.
Please listen carefully.
We had somebody. Can we have somebody mute that?
If you are a physician.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I think we got that line muted. Once again, do we have any questions for Braden Galloway? We'll start with David Hale from ESPN.
Hey, Braden. I'm curious this year, as the team has kind of been maybe the target of a little more criticism outside of the program than years past. I think that comes with a lot of the success that you guys have had, that you win every year and people start getting tired of seeing you and start seeing things in a little different light. Do you guys sort of embrace that role of being the sort of hated target nationally that Alabama or even Ohio State maybe has been for a long time? Or does it bother you to kind of hear some of that criticism from folks outside the program?
We don't focus on anything that's outside of the program. We focus on, trying to be the best version of Clemson that we can be. And it's not really about, what, the media is saying or what, outside sources are saying, because we know, who we are. We're a tight-knit group. It's Clemson family for a reason. and we just continue to try to work on that and continue being ourselves. Like I was over hearing Matt saying how, you know, motivation has to be intrinsic, and so does the leadership, so does the love for one another, and not focusing on, you know, what other people are saying, because that's the quickest way to break up a team. And you just have to learn how to embrace your target. And obviously we are one of the best programs in college football. So we know we're going to get everybody's best no matter who we're playing. So we have to prepare that way. We have to perform that way. We have to watch film that way. We have to practice that way. So we know we're getting everybody's best. So we have to do our job for those who are coming after us, for those who have come before us, to continue doing what we can do to be the best version of Clemson that we can be.
Next is Trevor Groves from CUTigers.com.
Hey, Braden, obviously last year you're coming off the suspension in the playoff. I don't think you had any catches against Ohio State. You had one against LSU, but just how much does this mean to you personally to be able to have a big role in this moment?
Yeah, I'm looking at it like it's any other game. You know, I'm trusting in our coaches and in our support staff and in our players. We'll have a great plan. And, you know, whatever happens. As far as, you know, whether I'm involved in the passing game or any of that, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself that I can be for this team and do anything that I can to help this team win. And I think a lot of our players have that mindset, and I think that's why we'll continue to be successful.
Next is Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com.
Hey, Braden, just curious if there's anything this season from being on the field more, playing with Travis Etienne more, that you have maybe that has impressed you more, that you've actually, now that you're actually able to play side by side with him, anything that has kind of elevated your opinion of him this season?
I would probably say my opinion of his speed. I always knew he was fast, but then you get out there, and I like to think of myself as kind of fast. And when you're running beside him, it's just like, it's not the same at all. That was probably the biggest thing. Obviously watching him on TV or watching him from the sideline, you know, he looks very fast, but when you're on the field with him and he's running, there's just a different kind of speed that he brings. And you see why he's such an explosive player.
We'll now go to Andrea Adelson from the ACC Network.
I remember last year after the LSU loss, inside that stadium in the locker room, Trevor went around to all the teammates and said, you know, we'll be back. And now you're going to be back in New Orleans to try and win a championship. What do you remember about the locker room and Trevor doing that, and kind of now being able to go back to the place to get a national championship in the same place where you lost it last year?
Yeah, I think the story was kind of already written, you know, beforehand. I think it was obviously this is a great opportunity for us and a team, but it has like that fairy tale kind of story headline. You know, we're going back to the same place we lost in order to try to get back to where we were last year. And I think it's a great opportunity. Obviously, Trev's a great leader. We have confidence in him. He has confidence in us. And I think that's why we're so successful. But when he said last year that we'll be back, there was nobody on our team that was doubting that. And so I think we just put our head down. We went to work. And then, you know, you look up, even through the midst through a pandemic and all this stuff, we're right where we want to be at this time of the year.
Next is Lawton Swan from ClemsonSportsTalk.com.
Hey, Braden, just thinking about your position and Tony Elliott's ability to utilize you guys, what are his strengths as an offensive coordinator in your mind, and just the success that you guys have had offensively throughout his tenure?
Oh yeah, I think he's versatile, and I think he's very confident. I think those are two things. Not only as, you know, offensive coordinator, as a player, pretty much whatever you're doing. I feel like those are the biggest keys, to be versatile and to be confident. And that's obviously what he does. He has great play calls. He has great preparation. And, you know, he can get really anybody the ball in any kind of way. So I think that's where the versatile comes from. And then obviously you're confident in what you do. We're confident in our day one install. We're confident in everything we put in through fall camp. And we trust when we run that we'll be successful doing that. So.
Our final question will come from Patrick Murphy with 24/7 Sports.
Braden, Ohio State's used a few different guys defensively to match up with tight ends throughout the year, be it linebacker, slot corner, safety. Just from watching on film, what do you see from how they've defended the tight end and how you attack that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're linebackers, they're banded backers, they're very athletic. They're good in space. They're good in coverage. They also play the run very well. So they have a lot of different guys that, cover the tight end specifically, depending on what personnel formations you're in. But all of them are very capable and being successful in the run-in in the pass game. So you definitely have to, prepare well, see their tendencies, see what they're good at, see what they're weaker at, and try to attack them that way.
Thank you very much for your time, Braden. We'll let you get back to preparations and look forward to seeing you in a few days here in New Orleans.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We'll just go over.
Up now, we've got quarterback Trevor Lawrence. John, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you for joining us this morning or this afternoon, Trevor. It's morning for me here in New Orleans. We're going to jump right into questions. I'll introduce the media members by name and media outlet. We're going to start with Paul Meyerberg from USA Today.
Sorry. Good afternoon, Trevor. I know your story isn't quite finished, Trevor. You got another chapter to write as you move forward in your college career. But if you could take a moment to think back across your almost 3 years, what legacy do you think you're going to leave at Clemson and in college football, and what would you want it to be if you could define it yourself?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about necessarily what my legacy would be. I've just been trying to live in the moment these past 3 years and trying to be the best I can be, whatever moment I'm in. So that's been my mindset, and I think that helps you leave a legacy if you just try to live and be your best in every moment. But I mean, at the end of the day, I just want people to say, I want people to speak to my character more than the type of player I am or I was or whatever. I want to just be a good person, and I think that's the number one goal for me. And then obviously the play and all the accolades, all that stuff kind of will eventually speak for itself. And but that's really not the main thing for me. Is just being a good person, being a good teammate. I hope that's what people say about me whenever I leave here.
All right, next question, Stephen Means from Cleveland.com.
Hey, Trevor, just going back to your recruiting days, when I know the stars and stuff probably don't matter at this point, but when you're going through the recruiting process and you're a guy as highly rated as yourself, and when quarterback recruiting is so different and you have to care about who's in the room, do you have to worry about that element of it as much as maybe some other guys would, as what type of caliber players are going to be in that room with you when you're trying to win a job?
I mean, that was something for me, was kind of a secondary thought. I think that has to be a small part of everyone's process on where they go to school. Just you got to have the opportunity to be able to play. But that was a small part of it for me. For me, I just wanted to go to a few different schools and see what fit me the best, build a relationship with the coaches and make my decision from there, where I felt like was home, where kind of on the field, off the field, everything would fit me, where I felt like I could become a better person, all those things. And I eventually came to the conclusion it was Clemson. And, obviously they had their starter coming back, and that just really wasn't something I thought about, just because I knew that's where I wanted to be for the long haul. It wasn't just the place I could necessarily go and play the fastest. I just wanted to go somewhere that valued the same things as me, not just winning games. So I felt really confident in that, and that's how I made my decision. I think that's different for some people, but at the end of the day, I had confidence in myself and knew that it would work out eventually. Didn't know exactly how it would go. Didn't even necessarily know that it would, I'd have so much success so early, but just kind of trusted it and trusted myself and my decision and stuck with it.
With quick follow-up on that, were you shocked at how much turnover the room had between your first couple of years here?
Yeah, it's definitely been, I've seen a lot of guys come through. Obviously, there's a few guys that transferred when I first came in just for different reasons, but so that room changed pretty quickly. What I thought I was stepping into was different than what it was when I got here. And then obviously Kelly after the, spring and fall. And then after that, it was Chase and went to Duke now, and that's one of my best friends, and we're still super close. So it's changed a lot. Now we got DJ and Tyson and Hunter Helms and all those guys in there. Patrick McClure, who was in there, now medically can't play, so he's helping coach now. So it's just, there's been a lot of change, but we all have a great relationship. We've made it work regardless of who was in there, but definitely seen a lot of turnover, and it's been good for me to just get to know a lot of different people and just try to be a good teammate best way I can.
Next will be Josh Needleman from the Charleston Post and Courier.
Hey, Trevor. I know you said a minute ago you don't really try not to consider your legacy as you try to live in the moment day by day, but is it cool to think about the We Want to Play movement back in the summer, you playing a big role in that, and it might have influenced public opinion to the point where the season, did go on and has almost gotten to the finish line like we are now?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to be a part of something like that. I mean, it wasn't just me. It's kind of my name gets thrown on the headline, the label of everything, but definitely wasn't just me. I probably didn't even do most of the work. So, but it's cool to be a part of that, and I think we'll look back on that as a pretty cool moment and kind of a turning point. And honestly, I think it gave a lot of people some opportunities, which was kind of the goal. This game means a lot to a lot of people, and I think that playing this year helps a lot of people a lot. I mean, you think about one of our receivers, Cornell Powell, fifth-year senior, hadn't played a ton up until this point, and this was kind of his year. That he had a really good spring and fall camp, and this was kind of, he's expecting this to be his year to really prove himself. And without a season, I mean, he's in a whole different situation. He just got invited to the Senior Bowl. He's had a great year, been a great teammate, and without a season, that changes a lot for him. That's just one example. So hopefully, playing this year has helped a lot of people, and it's been worth it. I think it's been a success. If you look at how kind of 2020 has gone, I think this has been a success, as much as it could be.
We'll go to Scott Rabelais from the New Orleans Advocate.
Trevor, you've had so much success, obviously, in your college career, but a lot of athletes say they remember the times they didn't succeed more than the success. You being 34-1 as a starter, how much does the and one stick in your mind, especially considering the magnitude of that game in New Orleans last year?
Yeah, I mean, what could have been, it would have been cool to have the opportunity to obviously not lose a game in college, but I think some things are necessary for you to grow. You got to face a little bit of adversity, and sometimes you can't really, you're a little bit blinded by success if you don't have any hiccups along the way, if you will. So I think for us, and for me personally, it was good for us to not win that game in a lot of ways. Obviously, you want to win a national championship, and it's definitely kind of devastating in the moment. But after that, I mean, I think we've gotten a lot better. I learned a lot about myself. There's a lot of things I needed to work on to be a better player. And that just, I think leading in times when things are harder, when you lose a game, is definitely harder than when you're winning. So teaching me a little bit on how to lead better, just all those things, I think we kind of needed that. And at the end of the day, you just don't want to take winning for granted. We win a lot around here, and it's easy to kind of forget how hard it is to win when you win so much. So I think it taught us a lot, and I think we took that next step as a program and as a team because of that. Obviously, you don't really choose that going forward, but sometimes it can be better for you.
Next is Trevor Groves from CUTigers.com.
Hey, Trev, you've been competing against Justin Fields, going all the way back to high school, elite quarterback camps, what have you. And of course, the game last year. Is it kind of neat to keep this kind of rivalry going that you have with him head to head?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I said before, it's a small world. He's from right down the road from me, probably 20, 30 minutes. And just to be playing each other for the second time. And we've kind of been matched up, I guess, for years, just going back to high school. I haven't really seen it as that. I'm not like out here just competing against Justin. I mean, we're friends. We got a good relationship, but that's kind of how people like to pin it as me against him. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just fun getting the opportunity to play a team like Ohio State. Obviously, huge brand, great team year in and year out, and to get the opportunity to play them is kind of what you expect in a semifinal. You're playing the best of the best, so we're excited for that opportunity. But it does make it cooler that the guy on the other sideline is from right down the road from me. So it's pretty cool. Obviously, we played him last year. It was a crazy game, but definitely looking forward to it.
We have time for one more. We'll go to Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now.
Hey, Trevor, kind of curious. You've thrown 4 interceptions in the last 5 games after going 12 straight without throwing one. As you kind of evaluated the couple of mistakes that you have made along the way, what have you learned about yourself in those few and far between moments?
Yeah, I mean, just that's part of every week. The process is evaluating the game, and regardless of how well I play, there's always something that I can get better at, or something that I missed, or whatever it may be. So that's the thing I love about Coach Streeter, quarterback coach. Is he's pretty hard on me, but in a good way. You know, he wants me to be my best, and he's not going to let anything slide. So he holds me accountable, and then also me. You know, I expect a lot from myself, so I go in there and. Those are the main things I'm looking at, what I can get better at. Obviously, the good stuff is kind of expected to a certain degree, but just looking at what I can get better at. Then obviously had a few turnovers this year, and definitely have made an improvement from last year. And that was one of my main goals, but just realizing that nobody's perfect. It's going to happen. And just to play my game, to play comfortably, there's going to be a few turnovers. It's just part of the position. So just staying confident, not letting that get in my head, and keep playing my game and not really changing, but learning for sure from some of those ill-advised throws and throws that could have been picked off and ones that were, and just learning, you know, how do I get better from that? It's every week I do that.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Trevor. Good luck in the rest of your preparations for the game.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, up now we've got wide receiver Amari Rodgers. John, I'll turn it over to you.
Amari, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate you taking the time. We're going to go ahead to questions from the media. I'll introduce them by their name and media outlet. We're going to start with David Hale from ESPN.
Hey, Amari, appreciate your time. The trajectory of Clemson is such that I think early on, particularly with Deshaun in those early years, that everybody was like Clemson fan, hoping somebody would knock off Alabama. You guys have had so much success now that maybe the tables have turned a tad and people kind of root against Clemson because they're tired of seeing you in Alabama. Do you care about that at all? Does the criticism of the program from outside matter to you at all? Or does it maybe fuel you guys a little bit, you know, as you keep going down this road of success? It's like, all right, now we get to prove somebody wrong again.
Of course. I mean, of course, we're not going to look at it and dwell on it too much. But, you know, we see it. You know, everybody sees it on the media and stuff like that, what people say. And, you know, we use it as motivation. But at the end of the day, we're just playing for each other. And we're playing for Clemson and our standard, which is best. So that's what we do every single day. We come out and we prepare to our standard. And we just go out there on game days, you know, try to play to our standard. So that's really the only thing we focus on is Clemson.
Our next question is Brad Senku from All Clemson.
Hey, Amari, I wanted to ask you, this Ohio State game, does it feel like a rivalry to you? And have you paid attention to maybe some of the back and forth that's been going on between the fans, like on social media? So does this feel like a rivalry?
Not to me, to be honest. It feels nothing like South Carolina rivalry and any other games that we may see as a rivalry. You know, I feel like they have more beef with us than we have with them. So that's really one on them, to be honest. But I don't really see it as a rivalry, to be honest. It's just one of those teams that we've happened to play a lot since I've been here. You know, it's been great games every single time, but, you know, I don't see it as a rivalry.
Next is Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports.
I wonder if you could describe Trevor as a runner. Obviously, he had the big game against Ohio State last year. I just noticed he's the second leading rusher on the team. He doesn't have the typical build of a dual threat guy. Just talk about that a little bit.
Trevor is low-key a dual threat quarterback. to be honest. He can run past anybody. If you have the wrong angle, he can definitely run by you. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people have slept on throughout his career, is his running ability and his way to escape the pocket if something's not there and get positive yards out of it. So he's just continuing to get better at that. And, hopefully, he's able to do that more in the playoffs. So, I'm excited to see how he does.
Next is Andrea Adelson from ACC Network.
More along those lines with Trevor, Dabo has said it'd be a crying shame if he didn't win the Heisman, but there are other players that maybe are getting talked about a little bit more in terms of the Heisman. How much do you think that's because we've seen Trevor perform at such a high level since his freshman year, and maybe some of the other guys that are in consideration this year did something that was perhaps a little bit unexpected?
Yeah, I feel like definitely, like you said, Trevor's been performing at this high level since he first got here, and I feel like people are just used to it, and they just expect that out of him. But they're missing out on, just like you said, the consistency throughout his whole career in the season, how well he's been able to perform at such a high level, and lead our team to victory every single week. So he's just great, man, and he's gonna do the same thing at the next level. I'm just excited to see how his journey goes and how the rest of the career ends up. But he's definitely, in my opinion, the best player in the country. So.
Next is Doug Lesmerises from Cleveland.com.
Murray, just what was it like for you this season once Justin got hurt, and just how much responsibility you took on? And then just why are you so effective out of the slot? What is it about your skill set that makes you so effective there?
Just coming into the season, originally, with it being my last year, I put everything into my preparation, just knowing that this was my last season out there with my brother. So, I wanted to give him my all and give my all for the coaching staff and teammates so that we can go out there, handle business. And as far as me in the slot, I just feel like my route running ability is good. And, the ability that I have to, move people in space, and, create separation is what I'm best at, and that's what I study the most. And what I worked on in the off season was, break points and, just route running, just becoming a student of the game. Because if you don't know coverages, you don't know leverage with the DB, any of that, you can't be a good wide. So, I just took the next level as far as preparation this off season and in season to, gain an advantage on the opposing team.
We'll now go to Anna Hickey from Clemson 24/7.
Hey, Mari. The wide receivers last year versus Ohio State struggled a little bit at the line and just in general to kind of produce downfield. Is that something that you guys have made a talking point going into this game, and you kind of being really the only one among the players this year having faced Ohio State, or at least getting a chunk of plays? Is that something that you kind of take it upon yourself to make a point of emphasis, I guess?
Oh yeah, for sure. We're definitely aware we didn't play to the standard last year versus Ohio State. We didn't make the plays that we feel like was needed for us to win the game the way we wanted to. And we've been challenged by Coach Sweeney about that. So we definitely take that to hand when we're preparing to practice like that. Just knowing that we didn't make the plays needed that we needed to make in order to get the win the way we wanted to. So we've been working all week versus press technique. Just in practice, making those competitive plays against our defense, just to create that mindset. And get ready for the game. Because if you don't make the plays in practice, you're not going to make it in the game. So just creating them habits in practice is just going to make it easier for you when it comes game time.
We now go to Stephen Means from Cleveland.com.
Hey, Mario, I know you only got a chance to go up against him for a half before he got ejected, but going up against Shaun Wade in the slot last year, what type of matchup problem did he have for you?
Just his length. He's very long and he can cover a lot of space very easy just because of how long he is and stuff like that. So, you got to play real smart as far as in space, making sure he doesn't get his hands on you, because if he does a great job and, staying on his hip and stuff like that. So that's just one of the things you got to study with him, is just how to move him off his feet, off his spot in order for him to not get his hands off you, get his hands on you actually. So, it's just one of those things where you have to study film, study his technique, and just find ways to attack him. So that's just part of the game. You just got to study the opposing athlete's technique and stuff like that, and try to find advantages to get on them. So.
Next is Zachary Brasler from the New York Post.
Maury, what are you going to remember the most about Trevor? You know, he's got this great records, won a championship, put up these great stats. What is going to stick with you years down the road as you kind of recall playing with him?
Just the type of competitor he is. You see, he only has one loss as a starter, and it's not just because he's been on good teams. It's because of the competitor he is, and he expects the best out of everybody, while he is expecting the best out of himself as well. So he doesn't like losing. So for losing, you can tell he's not going for it. So he's going to push everybody, to get the best out of them and bring their best. And that's something I'm gonna definitely miss from him. Is just a competitor that he is.
Maury, what do you remember last year after the loss to LSU? He went around the locker room telling guys we'll be back. What do you remember about that? And and how fitting is it that he's got a shot to win another title here?
For sure. That was just him being the leader that he is, just going around, just letting everybody know that it's gonna be okay, and that he has another year, and he's gonna make sure that we're back in the same spot. He's been doing that all year, just making sure that we're pushing each other so that we can get back to that stage, which is a national championship. So that's been everybody's goal all year, and that's what we've been striving for and grinding for. So we all have the same goal in hand. We just gotta finish.
One final question from Matt Connolly from the State.
Amari, what do you think of New Orleans, and what is it like playing there? And then why do you feel like, for whatever reason, you guys haven't played your best down there?
Shoot, I don't know why we haven't played our best. I guess we just haven't had the best luck. But I like New Orleans. It's a nice city. With Bourbon Street and stuff like that. But with COVID and stuff, we're not even gonna be able to see anything for real. We're just gonna be there a couple of days before the game. Really be just like an away game. But of course, we know we haven't handled business there like we wanted to in the past. But hopefully we can get one this year and switch up the curse a little bit. But Coach Sweeney's definitely been reminding us about it. So it's definitely in the back of our minds for us to go in there and try to switch it up a little bit with a win.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Amari. We'll let you get back to practicing and preparation. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Up now, we've got running back and AP All-Purpose All-American Travis Etienne. John, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, Travis. We're going to go to questions from the media, and I will introduce them by their name and media outlet. We're going to start with Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now.
Travis, congratulations on your All-American selection. I'm curious what you learned about yourself and maybe what you guys learned as a team from losing to Notre Dame and kind of how you applied that the next few times out.
Well, I mean, we learned so much from that game. Just learned a lot of great things about ourselves. Just the heart that we have, the competitors that we have, the will to fight, and that we are able to overcome things that happen throughout the game. We never got down on ourselves, so we feel like we definitely have that heart of a champion, that it factor, what it takes to just get over the hump. But I feel like it was necessary for us to have that kind of just downfall. It taught us a lot, like you said. We learned a lot, heart of a champion. But I mean, it just gave us that focus that we needed in order to just push so much harder. Just basically, we gotta basically recalibrate our minds and just get back to who we are. And it was just great to see that everyone on the team had the same mindset that we just have that heart of a champion and will to fight, and we'll just leave it all in mind for each other.
We'll now go to David Hood from TigerNet.com.
All right, Travis, you grew up less than 3 hours from New Orleans, but you're 0-2 in the Superdome. Did you have any thoughts last year? I don't guess you walked out of the stadium even knowing if you would be back for another year, but how special is it to have this chance to once again kind of claim a win, not only in your home state, but in a city that you really love?
I mean, it's a great opportunity that I have, and I'm very thankful for it. But I mean, kind of this last 2 times, how you said it, 0-2. So I feel like it's just like at this point, it's kind of tired of talking about what I'm going to do and like things that I'm just grateful for. I'm just kind of ready to get to that point and just try to make it right, and just ready for the game.
We'll now go to Scott Rabelais from the New Orleans Advocate.
Along those lines, there's such tight restrictions on fans of the game. How many family and friends are you going to be allowed to have, and maybe how many compared to what you had tickets for the game last year?
I have pretty much the same. I got, I think I have close to 20 tickets. So I got quite a bit of family coming. They're going to be able to get to see me play. Senior year is going to be a really great opportunity. Even with like COVID and the pandemic and everything going on, I'm very grateful that they'll be able to get to see me play in the Superdome.
We'll now go to Phil Harrison from Buckeyes Wire.
Hey, Travis, last year you played, obviously, Ohio State. They were pretty physical against you in the running game. I know you had some big plays in the passing game and opened some things up. This year's team is also pretty strong against the run. Can you just talk a little bit about what you see from Ohio State's defense in the running game that makes it so challenging?
Just the type of defense they play, the 8-man front that they present every time, just the way that they're structured. They're structured to stop and run. So that definitely presents a challenge within itself. But we just have to focus on ourselves and just come out there with our A game. I mean, just have that mentality that they're not going to let us they're not going to give us the yards. We got to go out there and just impose our will and win in the trenches.
Next up is Josh Needleman from the Charleston Post and Courier.
Hey, Travis. I know you guys had bingo night last night. How did that go? And just in general, how weird has this whole bowl week been compared to previous years?
This bowl week, it's been kind of weird just because we're not at the spot. We don't have just the whole week that we have together. Just kind of just having fun, just kicking stuff with each other. Being on night, it was a great experience, a great little night. I'm kind of mad that I didn't win. That's the only downfall was that I didn't have the chance to call bingo.
Who won?
Well, we had a couple guys. We played about 4 games. I specifically remember. I think it was Joe. He won the blackout game. I wasn't even close to blackout, so I feel like my car was kind of rigged.
Next up will be Dan Hope from 11 Warriors.
Travis, it seems like the last couple games you guys have really hit your stride as a rushing offense. Just what do you think are the things you guys have been able to do to be at your best in that area at the end of the year?
Just having that, just being here at Clemson, just knowing that you have to get better as the year goes on, and we just have that structure that we just continue to get better throughout the year. So I mean, it's just structured that way for us to keep getting better and better. And I mean, we have that mindset now. We know so much more about ourselves and what we need to work on in the run game, and we just get to work Monday through Friday, and it's showing up on Saturday. So I mean, we just got to just keep grinding, keep critiquing ourselves, being coachable, and just keep getting better and go out there and make plays in the run game.
We'll now go to Anna Hickey from Clemson 24/7.
Hey, Travis. Last year, obviously against Ohio State, you were very impactful in the passing game. Struggled a little bit more to run the ball. You think what you were able to do against Notre Dame, kind of having that breakout performance after a little bit of a lull maybe in the run game in general, how much can you carry that over? And then how much is your running performance from against Ohio State last year kind of in the back of your mind?
Honestly, I haven't thought about it much at all. I mean, it is what it is. It's a game within the game. Teams, this how Ohio State is structured to stop the run. So we just have to find ways to get me the ball and just get me in space and just let me be effective other ways in the game. And I feel like my coach has really done that and really put me in the position to do that. And I feel that going into this game, the offensive line, we're just having great chemistry, and we're just hitting our stride at the right time. And I feel like it's going to be on notice for the whole world to see.
Now we'll go to David Hale from ESPN.
Hey, Travis, first off, bingo is strictly a game of luck. There's no skill involved. They should have gone with like Hungry Hungry Hippos. I think you would have killed that. But, you know, I'm on your side here. At what point this year, I know you're always thinking like we can be better in the next game than we were in the last, but at what point did the offense feel like, okay, this is what we thought it could be this year. This is sort of feels comfortable and everything's kind of clicking the way we expected it to?
For me, I had glimpses of it versus Georgia Tech. Just going out there and seeing it firsthand. I mean, it was kind of amazing just to go out there and just be a part of that game. What the guys done, I think we hung up 72, I think. It was kind of crazy. It's kind of like just playing Madden or NCAA again. So I felt like that game just really clicked and kind of gave us that validation that we needed in order to just know that if we stick with it and just keep working hard, that we have an opportunity to be a very great offense.
We'll now go to Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com.
Hey, Travis, another question kind of about Ohio State's defense, but you're such a versatile player that Clemson can find ways to exploit matchups with you a lot of ways, but Ohio State's linebackers are pretty versatile guys who used to start outside, start inside now, and kind of vice versa. Just what do you have to do to still, I guess, do what you do against a defense, or especially a linebacker core that has that many like versatile guys?
Just be who we are. I mean, just preparation, just coming day in, day out, game planning for that specifically, and just our coaches putting us in the right position to make plays. I mean, it's championship phase. I mean, everybody's great. It's the best of the best, and we wouldn't want it any other way. So it's just being confident in who you are, your game plan, your schemes, and stuff like that, and coaches putting you in the right position to make plays.
We have time for one more question. Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports.
Hey, Travis, could you talk about how sneaky good Trevor Lawrence is?
Sneaky good. I don't feel like he's sneaking up on anyone at this point in his career. I mean, he's a great quarterback, great leader, a great player. So I mean, sneaky good. I mean, which he might be a little faster than you would expect, but I see him run every day, so I know what kind of quicks he have and things of that sort. So I mean, ain't nothing sneaky about Trev. He's the best player in the country. I mean, he ain't sneaking up on nobody.
Thank you very much for your time here, Travis. Good luck in the rest of your preparations, and good luck on your trip back home to Louisiana in a few days.
Thank you.
All right, up now we've got wide receiver Cornell Powell. John, I'll turn it over to you.
Cornell, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon and taking some time for us. What we're going to do, we'll have some media asking you questions. I will introduce them by name and outlet. We're going to start with Patrick Murphy from 24/7 Sports.
Cornell, obviously last year in this game, Ohio State's cornerbacks had a lot of success matching up with the receivers. Most of those guys are gone at this point. What do you see from this group, and how do you look to improve on what happened a year ago in the passing game?
I feel like the wide receivers here at Clemson, we've been challenged by Coach Sweeney, and Coach Grish to really go out there and make a statement. The game's gonna really come down to us being able to make one-on-one plays, and we have a ton of respect for their DBs this year, as well as last year as well. And we just want to go out there and make sure that we do enough to ensure that we get the win.
Now go to Trevor Groves from CUTigers.com.
Cornell, how much does it mean to you to be on this stage and have such a huge role in this game, just at a personal level as opposed to last year? And have you made a decision about your future, about coming back next year? Or are you going to wait to see how things play out?
It means a lot to be able to go out there and do my thing and with my brothers alongside them, and just have that weight on my shoulders. That's why you come to Clemson for games like this, to play the Ohio States and the Notre Dames and stuff. And so you just gotta be ready for the moment. It's all about the preparation. And so when Friday comes, I want to be sure that I did enough to prepare and be ready to go out there and execute our game plan. And as far as the future, I'm just really focused on Ohio State and winning this game and making sure that I put my best 4 quarters.
We'll now go to Dan Hope from 11 Warriors.
Hey, Cornell, just studying the Ohio State secondary, what do you see in them? Maybe how do they compare to what you guys saw from them last year?
It's really not a drop off. Those guys are great. On this stage in the college football playoffs, you play the best of the best. So, you just really go out there. You gotta try to win your matchups. And also remember that those guys are D1. Those guys are NFL ready guys as well. So you just gotta go out there and play your game and be able to execute and dominate.
We'll go to Matt Connolly from the State.
Hey Cornell, Trevor spoke earlier about how big this year was for you and how if this season didn't happen, you don't have the breakout year and who knows your future wise. Just what has this year meant to you? What do you feel like it could do for you in the future? And then earning a spot in the Senior Bowl, what did that mean for you?
I feel like this year it's been crazy, but it's also been amazing, man. I really want to give, really all the glory to God, just allowing it to happen. And the season, not knowing whether it was going to be able to come back and play or not, I grew a greater appreciation for the game and just wanted to make sure that, we never know how many games we're going to get. So each game, go out there and play it like it's your last. And I really feel like it helped in a way. It helped push me more. I was already dedicated and locked in. I had changed the way I prepared, the way I focused, everything. And then everything happened with COVID. When we finally got a chance to come back to the facility and actually play and practice, it was just a different level of energy and intensity within the locker room that I haven't seen before. And I knew that it was going to be a special year, and I just wanted to make sure that I did everything possible each week to make sure, because we never knew we was going to have another week.
We'll go to David Hale. Excuse me. Continue. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just as far as your future, getting a Senior Bowl invite, and then just looking at big picture in NFL, just what could that mean for you?
Being able to get a Senior Bowl invite is a blessing, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity, and I want to take advantage of that opportunity and go out there and showcase my talent, against the best of the best around the country. And obviously it's going to be big for my future, depending on how I go out there and perform. So.
And now we'll go to David Hale from ESPN.
Hey, Cornell, you guys, or you in particular, were part of speaking out very vocally and I think very helpfully and importantly over the summer during the social justice movement and putting the protest together there. At the same time, your coach was getting some criticism for maybe not saying exactly what people wanted him to say during that. I'm curious what your thoughts on that were, and what kind of conversations did you and Dabo have sort of personally about any of that? Did you come away feeling like, there was progress made in your understanding of him and his understanding of you, or anything like that?
I felt like, well, first of all, me, Trevor, Mike Jones, Dan Richard, it was really Mike who sparked it off, wanting to do the peaceful protest, so kudos to him. But, during that time, we really just learned that everyone included that it's better to listen from all aspects and all sides and stuff, and ensure that you get everyone's take and everyone's feelings behind it. You can't really tell someone how to feel about a certain thing and how to react to certain things in certain ways. It was sad that what happened with George Floyd and all the other countless names, Breonna Taylor, but we wanted to make sure that we used our platform to speak out about those things. And I feel like we did a great job, and Coach Sweeney also did a great job of speaking out about it and listening to his players. And we had a senior meeting, and we just sat down. We shared a real intimate moment as men, talking about it. And I really feel like he was touched, and he gained knowledge just like I gained knowledge throughout that conversation about my teammates, about their experiences and everything in between. And that really helped the push for the protest as well, So during that whole time, it was just all about just listening and really utilizing our platform to
to get our message across the right way that we wanted to.
Next, we'll go to Lawton Swan from ClemsonSportsTalk.com.
Hey, Cornell, just thinking about Coach Elliott and his role as the offensive coordinator. I mean, he's the guy that played wide receiver. He coaches the running backs. How does his versatility really help you guys overall as an offense, in your opinion? And, what have you learned from him during your time at Clemson?
He's been around a lot, so he's learned a lot. He's seen a lot, and he has a lot of knowledge to learn from. And he just gives us little nuggets. And most of the times it's not even about football. It's about life and being a man and being a husband and being a future father. And it's a blessing to have him around and someone who's actually been through the process. He actually went to Clemson and played wide receiver. So, it's always good to have someone like that around. But he's a huge part of our success, man. He obviously calls the plays and stuff, but he always tries to put us in the right position to be successful. So.
Next up is Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com.
Hey, do you have a greater appreciation after this season for what Travis Etienne does on the field, and what's maybe something that you're impressed with this season that you hadn't noticed as much before?
Well, since his freshman year, after his first run in camp, his first run ever in Clemson uniform in fall camp, I said, I forgot who I was talking to, but I said to one of the wide receivers, I was like, man, I thank God that he's on our team and not on someone else. And then from his freshman year till now, he's just improved. Somehow, some way he's improved and gotten better over time. But I feel like he's a better leader now in a way. He's a leader by example. He does the right things. He's not late, always on time. He just puts his head down and work. It's obviously different types of leaders, but I just really appreciate Travis, and obviously him being so great opens up opportunities for guys like myself, in the passing game, because everyone's focused on stopping him. So I definitely got a great appreciation for Trav.
We have time for one more quick question. Matt Connolly with The State.
You mentioned Dabo and Coach Grisham challenging the receivers. How does that look? How does he challenge you guys? What does he say? Is that in practice and meetings, or how do they go about doing that?
We're challenged, throughout the whole process, how we practice, how we meet, how we take notes, how we take care of our body, the film that we watch. And then obviously on the field, last year we watched the film and, our receiver group, we didn't feel like we made enough plays, big plays. And we want to make sure that this time around, when we get our opportunities, we get our chances, that we take advantage of those. So, it's not just all about the field. We're challenged in every aspect of the game, because it's really one, of how you eat, how you prepare, how you rehab, how you do treatment, and everything like that. So.
Thank you very much for your time, Cornell. Good luck with the rest of your preparations, and we look forward to seeing you here in New Orleans.
Appreciate it.